Coming up, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries after a motorcycle accident.
We got a warm President's Day on our hands, but just wait. By the middle and end of the week, the return of winter is upon us. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrates Black History Month.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Enjoy it today. Fight the wind, enjoy the nice temperatures because, and I don't want to look too far down the road, but we have to because I've read a great headline this morning. This is not mine, this is stolen. By the middle of the week, we're going to call it an involuntary polar plunge.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we've got headed our way. But I tell you what, Tanya, as we start on our Monday morning, 53 degrees, wind already coming out of the south, gusting at 30 miles per hour at Joplin Regional Airport. But check out these temperatures that we start our President's Day with. 52 in Carthage and Neodesha. Throw Chanute in there. Miami's at 51. 48 in both Nevada and Stockton. And we're going to push up into the low 70s today. Now, we're still going to fall short of a record. We'd have to get up to, I believe, 76 degrees is our magic temperature for this January the 21st. That dates back to 1996. So we won't quite be in record territory mode. But like I said, it's going to be windy and it's going to be pretty nice and warm. You'll notice a little scattered raindrops that begin to pick up here as we get into the late night hours. But we're going to replace that with eventual overnight thunderstorm activity. Now watch the temperatures out to the west right there. We're sitting at 27 in Wichita compared to 63 in Joplin for early Tuesday morning. So that front, we know exactly what's going to happen. We'll have a little freezing drizzle, not going to be extensive as what we had last week, but our temperatures will continue to plummet down. And once again, it'll be the top of your screen. You can just tell how it pushes straight down from the old Canadian border upon us. 7-day forecast after today in the 70s. We're going to be hard pressed to find 30-degree highs for the rest of the work week.
All right, well,
we'll get a little freezing rain to begin with. We'll get a little snow there on Wednesday and Thursday.
What I don't see is a big warm up on the weekend like we had last time.
No. This will be the last time in a while we talk about high 60s, low 70s.
Like you said, enjoy it while it lasts today. All right, thanks, Michael. A Joplin man suffers serious injuries in a motorcycle crash near Saginaw. On Sunday afternoon, shortly after 3:15, Reddings Mill Fire Department, Newton County Sheriff's deputies, and Newton County Ambulance responded to an emergency. Authorities found a single-occupant motorcycle crash involving a 24-year-old man who had suffered serious injuries. Authorities say the driver, Paul Haney, was traveling north on Old Highway 71 when his motorcycle crashed into a mailbox. Authorities say Haney failed to negotiate a curve. Motorcycle began skidding and traveled off the right side of the road. Haney struck the mailbox and was thrown from his bike. Authorities say Haney was wearing a helmet. He was transported to Freeman West Hospital. For more on the story, you can head on over to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. A Joplin college student accidentally opens himself up to identity theft when he opens an email. The student received a seemingly legitimate employment ad. Email looked like it came from his college. He replied and applied and received a check later with a letter telling him to deposit it, spend the money on gift cards, and then send photos of the backs of the gift cards back to the people who sent the check. Stephanie Garland with the Better Business Bureau says it was then the student realized it was a scam.
So he didn't give out his social security information nor his driver's license, so that's great. But he did give out his address, first and last name. The scammer knows it's an active email now because you replied back. So we just want people to be very cautious and be aware that whether you're a business owner and you've got emails coming from that looks like your company to your customers or your staff, or you're a college student, this can happen to anybody.
Well, secondhand shopping, it used to mean going to your local thrift store, but nowadays we can do that online. So you're surfing along and you find a one-of-a-kind vintage item that's in great shape and selling for a reasonable price. The deal of a lifetime, right? Stephanie Garland with the Better Business Bureau says, not so fast. BBB urges you to be very cautious when shopping online for these vintage and secondhand items due to an increasing number of scam reports. These include people ordering their vintage item online and either getting a knockoff or in some cases, nothing at all. Garland says there are some things you can do to protect yourself.
Scammers will target you with ads, and they will know what kinds of things you're going to click on, and they're going to go after your money as much as they can, unfortunately. Also, make sure you look at every single part of the website before you purchase. We've talked before here about going to the About Us page on the website, making sure it's built out, pulling up the address that's there in Google Maps, making sure it's not a different location that doesn't make sense, such as an empty field.
Garland adds it's best to pay with your credit card for online purchases because it has the most federal protections compared to other payment methods like your debit card or services like Google Pay. On Saturday night, Riggs Chiropractic hosted a family fun night at the Galena Public Library. The community was invited out to enjoy some food, play some games, and take part in giveaways. They were even giving out free spinal screenings. They say it's a way for them to reach out to their community and give some chiropractic care.
We're just having a family fun night, basically, just a game night. We just really wanted to find a way to reach out to the community and bring people together and, of course, impact them with chiropractic care in any way we could, and just spread awareness there.
Riggs Chiropractic says they hope to venture out into the community more often with events like this. On Sunday, the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrated Black History Month with a film and open mic event. Museum featured a screening of the movie Many Fires this time. We, the 100 Million, and the Danny and Willa Ellis Family Fine Arts Center. Prior to the screening, director Jason R.A. Foster and poet Michael Quess Moore spoke about their film and answered questions. The open mic gave people the opportunity to perform songs, music, poetry, beats, arts, and more.
So we're here today for the screening of our film, Many Fires This Time, We the 100 Million. It's a poetic documentary following the 100 million people and counting who live under economic insecurity in the United States.
Fort Scott Community College Endowment Foundation and the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored the event. On Sunday, Center Christian Church in Columbus hosted its annual Chili Feed. The free event boasts homemade chili and welcomed magician Mike Bliss to add some entertainment to the feed.
Outreach opportunity to get people. I mean, our church is located in the middle of nowhere, really, and so get us on the map with people in the community, let them know that we care about them, that we would like to be able to reach out and develop relationship with them, and just a fun atmosphere to be able to do that.
Bliss has performed across the country, including an appearance on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. It's 5:07.
Temperatures right now, absolutely wonderful for an early February morning, well above the freezing mark. We're as high as 53s that we have in not only Joplin, but also in Welch. Great looking Skywatch storm tracker is too. A little light morning cloud cover, but no precipitation to speak of. We won't have to worry about that until tomorrow. And when we do, we're going to throw up flood watches, especially as you progress toward the east. Now, the afternoon hours are going to be just fine. It really doesn't kick in until late tonight into Tuesday morning. But you notice there's going to be some very, very hard rain along and south of I-44. And we're going to follow that with a huge cold front that's going to drop us down to the 30s, if not high 20s for the rest of the week.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, PSU's softball team played Winona State. We'll have how the Lady Gorillas did. Plus, an athlete that set records in swimming is creating a stir. We'll have why it's such a big deal. And Buckingham Palace confirms Queen Elizabeth has COVID. Stick with us. We'll have the latest on her health. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Good luck trying to find a box.
Pittsburgh State hosting a pair of games on the softball field, first against Winona State and then Drury, as PSU was shut out by Winona on Saturday. Gorillas rolling in the third inning. Corey Stone Street up and away over the fence in center field. 2-run home run puts the Gorillas ahead. A few batters later, Gabby Schultz. Go Oppo. Deep right center. She's going to scoot in all the way to third. Madison Szymanski scores. And then still in the bottom of the third, Kiana Pellegrino, solo shot of her own. Pitt State goes 7 in the inning up now 8-1, adding more in the fourth inning. We've got 2 on Keela Griffith. Watch this, man. We'll watch her trot there. Keela Griffith into the jet stream in left field. Next batter, Szymanski again. Says, I'll follow that jet stream with you. Right down the right field line, stays fair. Or left field line. Pitt State rolls by Winona State. Final score 13-1. Game 2, Drury gets the best of Pitt State, wins it 8-3. Gorillas off to a nice start though, 7-3 on the year, back in action on Friday at the Washburn Invitational. Pitt State baseball also at home against Wayne State. Gorillas won the first game of the series on Saturday. We'll start with the bases loaded and down by 7 until Cruz Aranda brings in Aaron Gertis, and the Gorillas are now on the board. Then in the third inning, 2 on for Jordan Maxson. Well, that's how you get 3 back real quick. Pitt State down 8-4. In the fifth, keep making up ground. Garrett McGowan down the left field line. That's a 2-run shot that also scores Maxson. Same inning, Cade Clemens. I'll tell you what, you get one of those windy 4-state weekends, this is going to happen. 6 runs come across in the inning. Gorillas, though, still down by 3. Bases loaded for Travis Bailey. He gets it down the line, good for a double that'll drive in 3 for Wayne State as Wayne State evens out the series. A wild one. Final score 20-10. Missouri Southern baseball sweeping a doubleheader from Truman, now back over the 500 mark. Game 1, Jordan Fitzpatrick, walk-off home run, lifts the Lions to an 8-7 win. That thing took 11 innings. Fitzpatrick, he went 2 for 4, 4 runs driven in, 2 runs scored. In Game 2, Southern won 14-9 as Tommy Stevenson and Class Milas both went 3 for 4 at the plate and combined for 7 RBIs. Final day of the Edmond Regional Festival. Game 1, Lions win 8-1. Ashlyn Williams, 4 for 4, drove in 3. Kristen Wade and Adriana Young each had 2 RBIs. Game 2, Southern beats East Central 10-1. Ashlyn Williams, grand slam in Game 2. Adriana Young gets her first career home run as well. Yasmin Vargas, she drove in 3. Pitt State men picked up their second win in a row against Missouri Southern on Saturday. Tyler Hawkins with a team-high 20 for the Gorillas, and the first time this season that PSU has won back-to-back conference games. Now 7-13 in the MIAA. Head coach Kim Anderson pleased with what he's seen from his team in the past week.
I think it was a heck of a game, but I thought we started off well. Yeah, and that's important for us because sometimes we dig ourselves in a hole. I think we're doing a way better job of guarding the ball than we were, 2 weeks ago. We're getting some guys stepping in now. RJ Lawrence is stepping in, and Magic is stepping in and playing, and guys getting a chance, taking advantage of the opportunity.
Got to remember for Pitt State and Missouri Southern, as they hit the floor for the second time, they did so in just under a week, and it was the final meeting of the season. Now in the women's game, Pitt State battled back from a 14-point halftime deficit, took Southern down to the wire. Lions did hang on though, won their 13th straight win. Lacey Stokes, 36 points on the night. School record for most points scored in the season by a freshman. She's got 454 so far this year. Jamie Jackson, she led the Gorillas with 23. Pitt State fans packed John Lance Arena to celebrate 4 seniors in their last home game of the year.
I thought it was great. I love that energy, and when I saw Coach David over there standing on the sideline like this, trying to get the crowd going, I even ran down the floor and I was like, "Let's go!" I think it brings so much more energy, no matter where you're at in playing the game at all. So I think it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
It gets you out of your headspace. Yeah. Like if something's going on, you don't think about it anymore. All you do is hear that crowd, hear our fans supporting you, and you just want to play hard for them.
In the Big 12 on Saturday, KU looking for its 3rd straight win. Ochai Agbaji throws it down. Kansas goes up by 9. And Sean McNeil, he got hot for the Mountaineers, especially if you're just going to leave them wide open like that. He'll take another one from the corner. All of a sudden, it's a 2-point game. Jayhawks, though, able to pull away. Agbaji doing what he does on the break. He had 23 points. As KU would go on and win this thing 71-58. Also, Kansas State at Oklahoma State. Pick this one up at the very end. 10 seconds left in regulation. We got a tie game on our hand. Nigel Pack can't get the shot to fall. We go to overtime, even at 79. Avery Anderson, the third, almost called him Avery Johnson, knocks it down deep for the Cowboys' lead. He had 20 in the game. K-State gets the ball with a half-court heave that's on target but will not fall. Oklahoma State wins in overtime, 82-79. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, the third annual record show came back to the 4 states, bringing vendors and collectors alike to our area, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Give our tower cam over 7th and Rangeline here a couple minutes, or if you want to, and just want to look out to the west, great shot of the moon on this Monday morning, and a warm one that it is. 53 degrees is where we stand. Anywhere from about, I'll say about 46, and now Joplin up to 54. That's hard to beat for a February morn. Remember, a lot of that has to do with the wind coming in out of the south. We're really starting to pick up right there with wind gusts sitting anywhere from about 25 to 30 miles per hour. Little light cloud cover. No precipitation, though, and eventually we're going to make it up into the 70s. We won't quite challenge a record for today, but you can tell there's a nice warm swath that cuts its way from the southwest all the way through us. This is what we'll be paying attention to. It's over the Baja Peninsula, and while that may seem like forever away, it's actually going to present thunderstorm activity and combine that with everything that comes off of the Canadian border, and that's why you've got the wind chill warnings and the freeze advisories up to the north, while we find ourselves with a little flood watch that extends east of the Ozarks all the way toward the Mississippi River until Tuesday at the noon hour. Thunderstorm risk map after today. Today it's going to be fine, no worries. Thunderstorm risk map after today into tonight does put the southern portion just a little bit on the other side of I-44 into that low category. High winds, heavy rains going to be our main threat. And remember, we're not going to get started here until tonight. It's not going to be too bad for the afternoon and evening hours. Once we do, though, into Tuesday morning, going to get heavy rain, and then watch the temperatures out to your left-hand side as those will continue to plummet down below the freezing mark. It's going to be an interesting affair here, temperature-wise, for sure after today, as it's going to be hard for us to get into the 30s for the rest of the work week. Throw a little snow in there for the middle of the week as well. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, as there's growing concern over a transgender swimmer that's competing against women. Leah Thomas won a big race in the Ivy League championship, but many critics say it was an unfair competition. Molly Line has the latest. She's in Boston.
Nobody will touch Leah Thomas.
Another victory for University of Pennsylvania swimmer Leah Thomas, breaking a pool record, competing in the Ivy League Women's Swimming and Diving Championships at Harvard. The 22-year-old transgender woman who first swam for the men's team before taking testosterone suppressants and transitioning remains a focal point in the national debate over whether or not transgender female athletes should be permitted to compete against biological females. And with this year marking the 50th anniversary of Title IX, questions about fairness are creating an undercurrent of controversy, including among Thomas's teammates. One statement written by several unnamed members per ESPN expressed full support for Leah, noting her value as a teammate and friend. And last week, some 300-plus members of the swimming community sent a letter to the NCAA, which oversees college sports, supporting Thomas. In a later letter crafted by 16 also unnamed team members, along with three-time Olympic champion Nancy Hogshead-Maker, they write, "In honor of the Title IX pioneers who have worked so hard for women to have opportunities in sports and for educational opportunities for all women, we ask the University of Pennsylvania recognize the importance of providing fair competition and safe spaces for its biological female athletes." The issue has hit a nerve with some parents, including this father of an 8-year-old girl.
Emotionally, she is a dynamo, and I don't want a man swimming against her in the pool.
But groundbreaking figures like Billie Jean King, the former world #1 tennis player, are backing transgender athletes.
The NCAA announced earlier this month that Thomas is eligible to compete in the upcoming championships in March. In Boston, Molly Line, Fox News.
Our question for you this morning is, do you think transgender athletes should be allowed to participate in sports? Several ways to connect with us, either via our Facebook page. You can go directly to the poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or if you've got your phone handy, all you have to do is take a picture of our QR code, and what that will do is deliver you directly to the poll so you can take part each and every morning. We'll be back with Healthwatch right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, messages of goodwill and support from across the UK on Sunday after the royal family confirms Queen Elizabeth tested positive for COVID-19. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has that story.
A surprising announcement from Buckingham Palace on Sunday with the news that Queen Elizabeth has tested positive for COVID-19. The palace saying in a statement that she is experiencing mild symptoms but expects to continue working. Britain's longest reigning monarch, the Queen, is fully vaccinated and has had a booster shot. She's been in robust health for most of her reign but did spend a night in the hospital in October. Her treatment will likely include antiviral drugs that have been approved in the UK to treat COVID-19.
Any person of that age will need to be monitored fairly carefully. And also, I think, given antivirals, we do know that if you give antivirals early on in an illness, you can substantially reduce the risk of severe disease.
Both the Queen's eldest son, Prince Charles, and his wife, Camilla, contracted the virus recently. Charles has since returned to work. There are also believed to be several recent cases at Windsor Castle where the Queen is staying. Since the announcement, she's received an outpouring of well wishes from across the UK.
She's an icon. She's an icon of the UK. She's epitome of the UK in some ways. I mean, most people in the country have never known any monarch other than her, so she embodies the UK in so many ways.
She has to get better. We can't afford to lose her just yet. I think that, obviously with her Platinum Jubilee, I think we want her to recover very quickly, and we want to see her back to herself again as soon as possible.
The Queen celebrated 70 years on the throne this month, and she will turn 96 in April. Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Well, a recent study shows older adults have cluttered memories due to all the information in their brains. Research by the Baycrest Center for Geriatric Care in Canada says older adults have too much knowledge, making it harder to remember specific details. The team analyzed more than 20 years of studies, along with behavioral and neuroimaging studies. They found, unlike younger adults, older ones remembered relevant and irrelevant image information. Scientists say cluttered memory is a sign of wisdom, and they suggest older people can use their prior knowledge for better decision-making and creative tasks. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Windy and warm for President's Day. We're already sitting high 40s, low 50s, and making it up all the way into the low 70s this afternoon. Then we got big changes on the horizon, and that's going to come in the form of thunderstorm activity that leads us to flood watches that are east of southwest Missouri through the Ozarks, and our temperatures going to plummet down about 40 degrees from where they are this afternoon to where they'll be Tuesday afternoon. We'll break it down right after this.
We're excited to
Coming up, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries after a motorcycle accident.
A warm President's Day, but we do show up on the severe thunderstorm risk map as well. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrates Black History Month.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Buck. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip, where we're in for a warm Monday today.
A little breezy, but still it's going to be a great Monday afternoon, especially considering temperatures in the 70s for February.
Nice.
We will take that any day of the week, probably any day of the year, to be honest with you. Already pushing the majority of places into the 50s. And of course, we're having to do so with a strong southerly wind gusting 30 miles an hour already pre-sunrise. Weather trend going to take us up into the low 70s. We'll fall short of a record. Have to get up to 76, dates back to 1996, so we won't quite get there. A little cloud cover hanging out there in the central and the west. There's also a little flood watch. What is that about? Well, it's what's going to transpire here overnight. It's not really going to get started until we work from Monday night into Tuesday morning, but you'll tell we get some hard rain right there south of I-44 and even a little freezing precip. Certainly not as much as what we've seen past couple of days, but it's an indicator once that cold front rolls through right there. So that pink is, luckily it moves pretty fast, but it also brings up the severe thunderstorm risk map where we find even little portion, little sliver north of I-44 in that low category. That's going to be an indicator of the heavy rain and the high wind. Oh, by the way, on the backside of the thunderstorms, massive cold front. Get this, 70s today, high 20s the rest of the week. Throw a little snow in there for Wednesday into Thursday.
All right. Don't really want the snow, don't really want the cold temperature.
Well, here's the thing that I want to bring up about Wednesday into Thursday, that I really think we're going to be so entrenched by that point in time with our cold temperatures. We're not going to have the possibility for any of that to transition over into freezing rain. We should just stay as snow.
Okay, we can handle that.
Right.
We'll go build a snowman or something.
We like that idea.
Yes. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries in a motorcycle crash near Saginaw on Sunday afternoon, shortly after 3:15. Reddings Mill Fire Department, Newton County Sheriff's deputies, and the Newton County Ambulance responded to an emergency. Authorities found a single-occupant motorcycle crash involving a 24-year-old man who had suffered serious injuries. Authorities say the driver, Paul Haney, was traveling north on Old Highway 71 when his motorcycle crashed into a mailbox. Authorities say Haney failed to negotiate a curve. The motorcycle began skidding and traveled off the right side of the road. Haney struck the mailbox and was thrown from his bike. Authorities say Haney was wearing a helmet. He was transported to Freeman West Hospital. For more on this story, you can head on over to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Sunday, the Gordon Perks Museum in Fort Scott celebrated Black History Month with a film and open mic event. The museum featured a screening of the movie, Many Fires this time, We the 100 Million, at the Danny and Willa Ellis Family Fine Arts Center. Prior to the screening, director Jason R.A. Foster and poet Michael Quest-Moore spoke about their film and answered questions. The open mic gave people the opportunity to perform songs, music, poetry, beats, art, and more.
So we're here today for the screening of our film, Many Fires This Time, We the 100 Million. It's a poetic documentary following the 100 million people and counting who live under economic insecurity in the United States.
Fort Scott Community College Endowment Foundation and the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored the event. A four-state record show hosted the third year of bringing in older collector items into the area, and vendors from all over the four states came out to see what they could find. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky checked it out and has more on the collecting community.
Here behind me are people from all over the four states checking out records both old and new. But it's much more than that. They're part of a bigger community of collectors.
The vinyl community's been building for about 10 or 12 years now. It's gaining popularity, so a lot of people of all ages are coming out and buying records. They tend to find the Holy Grail type items here that people will bring that they've been hunting online maybe, and a lot of times you'll find those items here.
The four-state record show brought people from Northwest Arkansas all the way through Ottawa, Kansas, like Sean Dickinson with the Ampersand vinyl.
For me, I do this every week. So my business does, I do pop-up record shows in usually breweries, coffee shops, kind of in small towns where they don't have access to record shops. And so shows like this just allow me to have a larger audience and really kind of get the word out there.
It wasn't just records that were on display either. All kinds of collector's items were shown off for people to browse and buy.
We have dealers that have brought CDs, tapes, vinyl, collectibles, and for sale. We do have occasionally some customers that will bring things in that they want to have appraised or try to sell when they're here. But it's mostly a selling event.
In the appeal of listening to music on vinyl, the experience is unlike anything else.
It's just kind of a fun way to listen to music. I have two kids. We listen to music every day. It makes you listen to the whole record rather than just hearing a song and clicking on to the next song. And so it's really just a better way to experience music.
And with people coming from all over, attendees had the chance to listen to something new.
We like getting other dealers together from across the four states. We've got one from Texas even, so getting them together, they bring some things that maybe you don't usually see in this area. You might get more jazz out of Kansas City or more blues out of Arkansas. So it's a good opportunity to get people together twice a year.
In Carthage, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Four-state record show will be back in Carthage on Saturday, July 30th. There's Michael with a look at your forecast.
70s this afternoon before we encounter a 40-degree drop overnight into Tuesday. So if you want to do anything outdoor, get some fresh air, today is going to be the day to do it, because that's about ridiculous right there for the latter third of February, the fact that we're talking about some 70s up on the board. Skywatch storm tracker has remained clear, but let's not forget that overnight we will begin with thunderstorm activity, and then we will be following that up with an Arctic blast of air. Watch the temperatures out to your left. Wichita is going to have about a 50-degree drop, and there's the heavy rain that we roll through. That's why we've got some flood watches for the eastern portion of southwest Missouri. Our freezing rain should stay rather light. I'm going to go with minor travel impacts for tomorrow, but bundle up the rest of the week.
All right. This morning we're discussing transgender athletes in sports. Leah Thomas, a swimmer, set records in her sport. However, there is controversy over Leah because of the fact she is a transgender woman. While some stand with her, others do not want her competing because they view it as unfair. NCAA announced Thomas is eligible to compete in the upcoming championships in March. That brings us to our Something to Talk About.
And Tanya, just as a little background of this, and this is not my opinion, this is actually factual as far as the times that she was turning in earlier in the past couple of years. When she swam for the men's team, she was ranked about 99 to 100 in the entire nation. She's now the #1 women's swimmer in the entire nation. Simply put, our question to you, should transgender athletes be allowed to participate in sports? Right now, 100% of you, all our respondents say no, they should not. You can take part each and every morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via our Facebook page.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, a grandfather in South Carolina faces charges after his grandson brings a gun to school. Plus, it looks like there's no chance for a diplomatic solution for the Russia-Ukraine situation despite best efforts to bring about one. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, time may be running out for a peaceful resolution to the Ukraine crisis. President Biden has accepted an offer to meet with Russian leader Vladimir Putin, but the White House believes plans for an invasion are already in the works. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed in principle to a face-to-face meeting to discuss the standoff over Ukraine.
President Biden has made very clear that he's prepared to meet President Putin at any time in any format if that can help prevent a war.
The timing and location of a possible summit have yet to be determined. The details will be arranged during Thursday's sit-down between Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The White House stressed that there will be no talks if Russia attacks Ukraine. At least 150,000 Russian troops are now in position along that nation's border. Sources tell CBS News those soldiers have already received orders to invade.
I don't believe it's a bluff. I think it's he's assembled the right the kinds of things that you would need to conduct a successful invasion.
President Biden convened a meeting of the National Security Council on Sunday. The administration says Russia faces severe economic sanctions if it moves against Ukraine.
I mean, listen, guys, we're talking about the potential for war in Europe.
This weekend, President Putin oversaw military drills that included nuclear-capable missiles. The Russian leader has demanded an end to NATO's expansion into Eastern Europe, but says Russia has no plans to invade Ukraine. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Thousands of Russian troops were supposed to leave Belarus after wrapping up 10 days of joint military exercises yesterday. However, the two nations said the soldiers' deployment had been extended indefinitely. Jean-Luc Brunel, a former French modeling agent and close associate to Jeffrey Epstein, was found dead in his prison cell on Saturday. Brunel was found alone, hanged with bedsheets in his jail cell at the Santa prison in Paris. Brunel was arrested at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport in December of 2020 on counts of rape and sexual assault on a minor under 15, and rape and sexual assault on a minor over 15. Sexual harassment, criminal associations, and human trafficking to the detriment of minor victims for the purposes of sexual exploitation. Ukraine says Russia is trying to provoke a war. The question is, will it succeed? These satellite images show Russian troops on the move outside Ukraine. Ukraine says Russian-backed separatists are firing weapons in areas of eastern Ukraine that they occupy. The worry is they'll blame the violence on Ukraine. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the result could be the biggest war in Europe since World War II. French President Emmanuel Macron continues to talk with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He's trying to set up a U.S.-Russia summit. The White House says President Joe Biden agrees to it in principle if Russia stands down in Ukraine. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Thank you for voting us.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A judge sentences a Grove, Oklahoma woman who pled guilty to assaulting a witness in a murder case. Marie Morrow pled guilty to assault with a dangerous weapon in Indian country. She's sentenced to 30 months in prison and 2 years supervised probation. Authorities say Morrow assaulted a witness in the 2019 murder of Jerry Tapp in an attempt to intimidate them. 2 men, a father and son, are charged with Tapp's murder. You can read more about the case on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Joplin Police Department is searching for an armed robbery suspect. They say the suspect held the cashier at the corner convenience store on Maiden Lane at gunpoint, demanded cash, and left with that cash and merchandise. The employee was not hurt. Anyone who has information about this robbery should contact the Joplin Police Department. A Joplin college student accidentally opens himself up to identity theft when he opens an email. The student received a seemingly legitimate employment ad. The email looked like it came from his college. He replied and applied and received a check later with a letter telling him to deposit it, spend the money on gift cards, and then send photos of the backs of the gift cards back to the people who sent the check. Stephanie Garland with the Better Business Bureau says it was then that the student realized it was a scam. Speaking of scams, secondhand shopping used to mean going to your local thrift store, but nowadays we can do that online. So you're surfing along and you find a one-of-a-kind vintage item that's in great shape, selling for a reasonable price. Deal of a lifetime, right? Well, Garland with the Better Business Bureau says not so fast. The BBB urges you to be very cautious when shopping online for these vintage and secondhand items due to an increasing number of scam reports. These include people ordering their vintage item online and either getting a knockoff or in some cases, nothing at all. Garland says there are some things you can do to protect yourself. Check those out on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Wonderful when you do walk out the door. We're talking about temperatures already for the most part in the 50s on a February morning. Going to end up actually above 70 degrees. Get some nice sunshine. Going to be very windy. I will give you that much, but no precipitation to worry about, at least for the time being. But if we've got flood watches in effect all the way until Tuesday night, we know that there's rain on the way, and it'll come in the form of thunderstorm activity for later tonight. Most of the rain will be along and south of I-44. Some heavy rain, some high winds in there as well. A little bit of freezing rain, not as much as what we've had last week and to begin the month. But a big Arctic plunge. Temperatures only getting up into the high 20s for the rest of the week. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, a South Carolina grandfather appeared in court this weekend after his grandson took a loaded gun to school. No one was injured when the 6-year-old brought the gun to, quote, shoot zombies. But authorities say it was a close call. Shell Ramin has the latest.
Your first initial appearance is April the 8th at 9 a.m. in the General Sessions courtroom.
Holding onto a cane in handcuffs, Kaleem Al-Wajid faced a judge in Lawrence County Saturday morning.
A staff member at Lawrence Elementary School discovered a loaded handgun in a classroom.
Lawrence County School District 55 held a press conference after this man's grandson brought a loaded gun to school.
Prevention begins at home.
The 6-year-old saying he wanted to, quote, shoot zombies, but thankfully no students or staff were hurt.
The bond is $40,000. This is a cash or surety bond.
Police determined Al-Wajid is at fault for the 6-year-old getting a hold of the gun. He's now facing a $40,000 bond.
I'm poverty stricken. It is time. I'm on Medicare and Medicaid. I don't have access to a bond.
We hear Alawajid say to the judge he has animals in a pasture he needs to feed every day.
I got a lot of physical illnesses, and I can't be in jail. I can't take my medicine because they say my medicine is a controlled substance. I got a lot of medicine. I got prostate cancer. I need to be out.
Okay, well, hopefully you can post bond and get that taken care of.
I mean, I ain't got nothing to post bond with, man.
The grandfather is charged with unlawful conduct towards a child in the case. We'll be right back with a look at your forecast when we return.
Let's break down today into tomorrow, because today is going to be delightful. It's going to be windy, but it's going to be great temperature-wise as we'll get up into the 70s. See just a little green try to shoot through there. But now as we work past sunset, here we go. We begin to pick up action. Some heavy rain rolls in from the southwest. That's why we've got those flood watches out to the east of the Ozarks right there. That's some pretty good rain. Look at the top. Then we've got a little freezing rain to go along with it as our temperatures drop, and they drop quickly. We're looking at almost a 30-degree difference there between Chanute and Joplin early tomorrow morning. And then the cold front penetrates down to the southeast to the point where everybody is going to be stuck in the high 20s, not only for tomorrow afternoon, but really for the rest of the week. And then on Wednesday and the Thursday, looks like we're going to even pick up some snow. We'll be back right after this.
Coming up, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries after a motorcycle accident.
That 72 is correct, and also those 20s are correct. My goodness, after a warm President's Day, we sit back and we wait for the Arctic plunge. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrates Black History Month.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip where these cold temperatures are returning.
Let's tilt down here. It hasn't sunk low enough as of yet, Tanya. Keep on trying to pick it up just a little bit in our tower cam there. The moon, absolutely gorgeous. Look off to the south-southwest right now is your best bet to find. It's still hanging up a little too high for our angle there at the sky cam, but eventually we'll get it here for the end of the show. Temperatures absolutely wonderful. 54 in Joplin, 51 in Chanute. Let's roll 50 in Monette and throw a 51 up in Miami. Our weather trend for today, all the way into the low 70s. Stopping short of a record, but still, that is hard to beat right there. But look at the right-hand side of those icons at the top of the graph. We've got some thunderstorm activity it's going to work in. Now, we're dry right now, but eventually it's going to lead us to flood watches popping up for the eastern part of southwest Missouri, stretching east of the Ozarks all the way to the Mississippi. As Future Track will show us that once it gets started, and it won't be until late tonight. Don't let that have any bearing on your afternoon plans. But late tonight into Tuesday, twofold. Number one, there's some heavy thunderstorm activity that rolls through, especially south of I-44. Now you see the pink at the very top, a little freezing drizzle, not going to be as extensive as what we had last week, but look at the difference in temperatures. My goodness, we're going to plummet down some 40 degrees tomorrow morning into the afternoon hours. Big Arctic front presses in to the point where after a day in the 70s, it's going to be hard for us to get to the 30s from Tuesday all the way to Saturday.
That doesn't even look real.
That's why I started the show with, yes, that 70 is correct. Yes, those 20s are correct.
Well, if we can break
I know, it doesn't feel like it. It's just one of those crazy ones. You almost want to be like, oh, did we forget to change the Monday panel there? Right. Nope, that's how it's going to turn out.
All right, we'll take care of it. Thanks, Michael. Well, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries after crashing his motorcycle near Saginaw. On Sunday afternoon, shortly after 3:15, Reddings Mill Fire Department, Newton County Sheriff's deputies, and the Newton County Ambulance responded to an emergency. Authorities found a single occupant motorcycle crash involving a 24-year-old man who suffered serious injuries. Authorities say the driver, Paul Haney, was traveling north on Old Highway 71 when his motorcycle crashed into a mailbox. Authorities say Haney had failed to negotiate a curve. The motorcycle began skidding and traveled off the right side of the road. Haney struck the mailbox and was thrown from his bike. Authorities say Haney was wearing a helmet. He was transported to Freeman West Hospital. For more on this story, you can head on over to our website at KOAM newsnow.com. Joplin college student opens an email and accidentally opens himself up to identity theft. Student received a seemingly legitimate employment ad. The email looked like it came from his college. He replied and applied and received a check later with a letter telling him to deposit it, spend the money on gift cards, and then send photos of the back of the gift cards back to the people who sent the check. Stephanie Garland with the Better Business Bureau says it was then the student realized it was a scam.
So he didn't give out his social security information nor his driver's license, so that's great. But he did give out his address, first and last name. The scammer knows it's an active email now because you replied back. So we just want people to be very cautious and be aware that whether you're a business owner and you've got emails coming from that looks like your company to your customers or your staff, or you're a college student, this can happen to anybody.
Speaking of scams, secondhand shopping used to mean going to your local thrift store, but nowadays we can do that online. So you're surfing along and you find a one-of-a-kind vintage item that's in great shape and selling for a reasonable price. The deal of a lifetime, right? Once again, Garland with the Better Business Bureau says it's not so fast. BBB urges you to be very cautious when shopping online for vintage and secondhand items due to an increasing number of scam reports. Now, these reports include people ordering their vintage item online and either getting a knockoff or in some cases nothing at all. Garland says there are some things you can do to protect yourself.
Scammers will target you with ads, and they will know what kinds of things you're going to click on, and they're going to go after your money as much as they can, unfortunately. Also, make sure you look at every single part of the website before you purchase. We've talked before here about going to the About Us page on the website, making sure it's built out, pulling up the address that's there on Google Maps, making sure it's not a different location that doesn't make sense, such as an empty field.
Garland adds it's best to pay with your credit card for online purchases because it has the most federal protections compared to other payment methods like your debit card or services like Google Pay. Well, the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrates Black History Month with a film and open mic event. On Sunday, the museum featured a screening of the movie Many Fires, this time We the 100 Million, at the Danny and Willa Ellis Family Fine Arts Center. Prior to the screening, director Jason R.A. Foster and poet Michael Quest Moore spoke about their film and answered questions. The open mic gave people the opportunity to perform songs, music, poetry, beats, art, and more.
So we're here today for the screening of our film, Many Fires This Time, We the 100 Million. It's a poetic documentary following the 100 million people and counting who live under economic insecurity in the United States.
Fort Scott Community College Endowment Foundation and the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored the event. The new Joplin business is encouraging guests to get messy and creative. It's called Color Me Rad. It offers folks a chance to put their ideas on canvas in unique environments like dark rooms with black light and UV paint.
I think it was just the shock of the kids, just the look on their face when I said, you can paint me and I can paint you, and they're looking at me like I'm nuts. Even though they're in protective gear, just the thought of it was like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to get in trouble. But they still did it, and it was a lot of fun.
Color Me Rad is located at 3120 South Main. Well, on this date in history, assassins gunned down Malcolm X at the Audubon Ballroom in Washington Heights in New York City. Born Malcolm Little in Omaha, Nebraska in 1925, Malcolm X gained notoriety as a minister of the Nation of Islam. He attracted attention and controversy as a fiery and effective speaker who stood in contrast to Martin Luther King Jr. by taking a stand for self-defense and the liberation of African Americans by any means necessary. In the early 1960s, Malcolm X left the Nation of Islam and made a pilgrimage to Mecca, where he was profoundly affected by the lack of racial discord among Orthodox Muslims. He returned to America as El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz and founded the Organization of Afro-American Unity. It was during a speech addressing the Organization of Afro-American Unity that gunmen killed Malcolm X. His wife and 4 daughters were in the audience. You have a thought boiling?
Why didn't we keep that by the Gordon Parks story? Gave the interview to Gordon Parks just a couple days before he was killed. I didn't realize today was the anniversary. But he gave the...
Really?
Yeah, with the famous line that racism is not a black and white problem.
Yeah.
Racism has brought a bloodbath to just about every country on this earth. Yes, that line attributed to Malcolm X is part of the Gordon Parks interview with Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm. And I bet you can find
I believe you can find that interview in both of their museums, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
Okay, here's what we got for our Tuesday. Temperatures up around 70 degrees. Going to stop a little bit short of breaking a record. We'd have to get to 76, but remember, big changes coming overnight. That's going to present thunderstorms and a big cold front. Let's talk about our thunderstorm risk map here as we find ourselves in the low category that actually pushes just to the northwest side of I-44, an indicator of the high winds and also too heavy rain. That's why we've got the flood watches that push east of the Ozarks all the way to the Mississippi River, and that massive cold front drops us about 40 degrees for the rest of the work week.
And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Ashton Graham from Pittsburgh Parks and Rec stops by to talk about upcoming events, including a dad-daughter dance and the return of Camp Now and Then. Plus, the Sackler family bumps up its settlement offer by over $1 billion. We'll talk about that case. And experts are keeping a close eye on the Omicron variant. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, the Sackler family is offering up $1.6 billion more in an effort to settle the bankruptcy case in its company Purdue Pharma. That's on top of the $4 billion the family previously proposed. According to court documents filed on Friday, all funds would be used to support survivors and victims of opioid addiction. Sackler's company is the maker of OxyContin, the drug at the root of the opioid crisis that has been linked to more than 500,000 deaths in the U.S. Company declared bankruptcy in 2019, putting thousands of related lawsuits on hold. Not all parties have agreed to the new settlement number. The judge says negotiations can continue until the end of the month. The sister of disgraced financier Bernie Madoff and her husband were found dead Sunday in an apparent murder-suicide. Palm Beach County, Florida Sheriff's Department responded to 911 calls to find the elderly couple dead from gunshot wounds. 87-year-old Sandra Weiner, Madoff's sister, and her 90-year-old husband Marvin died inside their home at a senior living community in Boynton Beach. Investigators say the ultimate cause of death will be determined by the medical examiner, as well as which spouse carried out the murder-suicide. Bernie Madoff was the mastermind behind a $20 billion Ponzi scheme, the largest financial fraud in history. He died last year while serving a 150-year sentence in federal prison. Colorado police are investigating after 5 adults were found dead inside an apartment unit Sunday afternoon. A 6th adult and a 4-month-old child survive. Officers were called to the apartment complex on report of several people unconscious. They found 3 women and 2 men dead. The 6th adult and infant were inside the apartment but managed to make it out. Police say no signs of hazardous gas were found, but substances described as illicit narcotics were discovered. Authorities are investigating what happened. To look at today's top national stories, we'll be right back with Ashton Graham from the Pittsburgh Parks and Rec Department.
Good luck. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. You know, bit by bit, it seems like we're progressing back into the point where we're actually having some social activities take place. And one of the people, a group of people that we love to check in with each and every year come from us, from the City of Pittsburgh and the Parks and Recreation Department. And we're fortunate enough to be joined this morning by Miss Ashton Graham. Ashton, thank you so much for your time. And I want to start with an event that you have coming up that's very near and dear to my heart. Yes, I'm going to be a tad bit selfish when I say this, but for people that have not attended the Dad and Daughter Royal Ball, how do you explain it to them?
Yes, so our Dad-Daughter Royal Ball, we break it into 2 sessions because it's such a huge event. And with the COVID and everything, we're going to try to mitigate that. So we usually start the night off. It's an open room, and it's really, you do what you want. So we've got a craft area. You could dance the whole time. We'll have a DJ with music going for 2 hours, and then we'll have crafts and snacks. And then we'll also have a photo booth with Elsa and Miss Anna coming and seeing us this year.
And this is coming up on March the 5th, but Hey, dads out there, I know how we do this kind of thing. We need to RSVP by February 23rd. Is that right, Ashton?
Yes, sir, that is.
It's a wonderful time. Wonderful time. It's up at Memorial Auditorium, and trust me, dads, it's an event that you and your daughter will think about for the rest of her growing up. Speaking of kiddos, we have an event for them as well to maybe make some cash off the top.
Yes.
The kids' garage sale.
Yeah, the Kids Garage Sale is March 26th from 9 to noon. We encourage all the kids to come out and sell their clothing and toys. It's a great way of teaching them kids to count cash back to parents and their customers and that sort of thing, and get them kind of into the world of exchanging money and that sort of thing.
And I think the great thing that you have about this, Ashton, is I don't have to worry about necessarily getting up, at 4 a.m. and opening up my garage. Is that you've got everything for us up? Are we doing it at Memorial once again?
So this will take place at Lincoln Center.
Okay.
And we'll have 22 tables max.
That is awesome. And like you said, it's a chance for the kids to actually bring home a little cash as well. What else, when we talk about kids and activities, do we have on the docket for Pittsburgh Parks and Rec this year?
So we have Camp Now and Then.
Still doing Camp Now and Then. We're bringing it back, right?
Bringing it back.
All right.
We're always trying to bring it back.
So for those people that may not be familiar with Camp Now and Then, how do you describe that to them? Because it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for your kids, moms and dads. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to have some spare time.
Yes, so spring break, we'll be hosting a week session of Camp Now and Then. We'll be putting the day together for them. We'll be providing snacks, lots of outdoor activities, and we provide crafts for them. For those that don't necessarily like to do those athletic activities, we try to provide for all different types of activities for those days.
And that's up at the Lincoln Center as well. Hey, just real fast, Ashton, if we have a new parent who's a little bit apprehensive about sending their kids off to camp, kind of talk about the advantage and the fact that Camp Now and Then, it's a day camp, and we're not necessarily sending our kids off overnight and having to worry about that.
Right, yeah, so that's the best part about it is that it's just from 7:30 to 5:30 while you're at school. Those kids are being watched. And you won't have to worry about them being home alone and that sort of aspect. So it's definitely a benefactor for the parents, so they don't have to worry about their kids fighting at home.
Well, no, and it really isn't, especially when you do it on those days where they don't have school. It does give us does give us parents a chance to get out and maybe conquer some things that we need to have done. And they can still have a good time, and we don't feel like we're towing them around everywhere. You got one more event for us to pass on here as we get ready. Crazy to think we're going to be talking about spring here real soon.
Wow. Yes, these months are flying by. So April 9th, we'll have Easter egg hunt at 11 a.m. We'll be hosting for ages 0 through 9 years old at Don Gutteridge Sports Complex. So we'll be breaking down each age group into a field, and we have 7 fields. So we'll be doing it that way this year.
We're going to rock and roll that up at the softball fields again?
Yep.
Okay, for those of you that have never been part of the Pittsburgh Parks and Rec Easter egg hunt, I'm telling you, even if you don't have kids, grab your lawn chair, go up there, cheer them on, and you're just going to spend the next half hour laughing. It is a tremendous amount of fun. Ashton Graham from the Pittsburgh Parks and Recreation Department. Ashton, I want to thank you so much for your time, and I tell you what, your partner in crime, I'm going to have her on here in just a little bit. We're going to talk about some athletic activities that we can all get involved in, and we'll have more KOAM morning news for you right after this.
Thank you.
Voting is happening.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, just as several states lift COVID-19 mask mandates, there are some concerning new findings about a subvariant of the Omicron variant called BA2. The subvariant has already been detected in 47 states, but how worried should we be? Mandy Gaither takes a closer look.
A cousin of sorts to the Omicron variant could spread faster, may cause more severe disease, and could resist some of the weapons we now have to fight the coronavirus. The findings coming from new lab experiments in Japan released in a preprint study which hasn't been peer-reviewed. Researchers are calling this subvariant BA.2, and it's been on the World Health Organization's radar.
We are certainly watching this BA.2, this is the sublineage of Omicron, because it is showing some kind of level of transmission advantage.
It's been spotted in 74 countries and 47 U.S. states, and the subvariant has already become dominant in 10 of those 74 countries. The study also found BA.2 appears to escape immunity created by COVID-19 vaccines, but health experts say a booster restores protection, making illness after infection about 74% less likely.
We certainly don't want it to run rampant, just like we don't want Omicron to run rampant, and we really want countries to step up the vaccination to beat all these variants.
The new research comes as COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations across the U.S. are coming way down, with several states, including California, lifting mask mandates and transitioning their COVID response to an endemic phase.
Moving away from a reactive mindset and a crisis mindset to living with this virus.
The preprint study out this week also found that BA.2 is resistant to some monoclonal antibody treatments currently being used against Omicron. Let's look at one of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Up into the 70s later on today after a delightful President's Day Monday morning start. Mostly sunny skies. We're going to break down thunderstorm activity and a massive cold front right after this.
Coming up, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries after a motorcycle accident.
We're off to a warm President's Day start, but we've got a massive cold front on the way. We've got the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrates Black History Month.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
It just dawned on me, and perhaps you know the answer to this. Perhaps we can crowdsource it and somebody can help me out. Why is it that President's Day is when they have mattress sales?
They always do, though. They do.
I'm sure that there's marketing method madness behind it. I just don't know what it is.
And it's common knowledge too. I've purchased mattresses on President's Day. They do a whole weekend of sales.
I think it's almost become a little bit of a running joke. I just didn't know if you knew the answer or whatnot.
Maybe it's because a lot of schools are out. Not all schools, but some schools are out, and you get to sleep in on a bed. Banks are closed.
Up in Adam Hayslip household.
Sleep in. I know, my kids have school too.
Beautiful shot outside of Television City, Tanya. I don't think you could paint a prettier picture than that. What we have. Look at that flag, Old Glory on this President's Day, coming straight in from the south with that wind. As a matter of fact, last gust we picked up close to 30 miles per hour at Joplin Regional Airport, a very comfortable 53 degrees at 7th and Rangeline right now, 51 in Chanute, 52 in Neosho and Miami and Grove, already pushing up to 54 degrees. Our weather trend's going to put us into the low 70s today. My goodness, that is hard to beat. Now, a little cloud cover, but that makes for that glorious sunrise. However, do want to point out we've got flood watches until tomorrow at the noon hour, an indicator that we're going to get some thunderstorm activity overnight, and most of the more intense rain will stay along and south of I-44. Here it comes in late tonight into early Tuesday morning, and then on top of that, up to the northwest, you start to see a little pink, a little freezing drizzle evolves. It won't be as widespread as what we had last week, nor when we started the month with. But as that rolls through, those temperatures just continue to plummet. As a matter of fact, we'll be looking at a 40-degree drop between this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. After that, we're just going to be stuck in the, let's say, high 20s for the rest of the week. Little snow headed our way for Wednesday night into Thursday morning.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, a Joplin man suffers serious injuries after crashing his motorcycle near Saginaw on Sunday afternoon shortly after 3:15. Readings Mill Fire Department, Newton County Sheriff's deputies, and the Newton County Ambulance responded to an emergency. Authorities found a single-occupant motorcycle crash involving a 24-year-old male who suffered serious injuries. Authorities say the driver, Paul Haney, was traveling north on Old Highway 71 when his motorcycle crashed into a mailbox. Authorities say Haney failed to negotiate a curve. The motorcycle began skidding and traveled off the right side of the road. Haney struck the mailbox and was thrown from his bike. Authorities say Haney was wearing a helmet. He was transported to Freeman West Hospital. For more on this story, you can head over to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. A Joplin college student opens an email and accidentally opens himself up to identity theft. The student received a seemingly legitimate employment ad. The email looked like it came from his college. He replied and applied and received a check later with a letter telling him to deposit it, spend the money on gift cards, and then send photos of the backs of the gift cards back to the people who sent the check. Stephanie Garland with the Better Business Bureau says it was then the student realized it was a scam.
So he didn't give out his social security information nor his driver's license, so that's great. But he did give out his address, first and last name. The scammer knows it's an active email now because you replied back. So we just want people to be very cautious and be aware that whether you're a business owner and you've got emails coming from that looks like your company to your customers or your staff, or you're a college student, this can happen to anybody.
Speaking of scams, secondhand shopping used to mean going to your local thrift store, but nowadays you can do that online. So imagine you're surfing along and you find a one-of-a-kind vintage item that's in great shape. It's selling for a reasonable price too. You think it's the deal of a lifetime, right? Well, Garland says not so fast. The BBB urges you to be very cautious when shopping online for vintage and secondhand items due to an increasing number of scam reports. These include people ordering their vintage item online and either getting a knockoff or in some cases nothing at all. Garland says there are some things you can do to protect yourself.
Scammers will target you with ads, and they will know what kinds of things you're going to click on, and they're going to go after your money as much as they can, unfortunately. Also, make sure you look at every single part of the website before you purchase. We've talked before here about going to the About Us page on the website, making sure it's built out, pulling up the address that's there in Google Maps, making sure it's not a different location that doesn't make sense, such as an empty field.
Garland adds it's best to pay with your credit card for online purchases because it has the most federal protections compared to other payment methods like your debit card or services like Google Pay. Little baristas are serving up coffee and receiving a lesson in Knoll, Missouri. Kindergarten through second grade students opened the T-Rex and Sharks Coffee Shop. It's a project-based learning assignment that teaches the kids valuable skills.
Life skills like making eye contact, using manners. They have to knock on classroom doors before they enter. They have to use please. They have to use thank you. They learn to count money. They take money, they count it, they give change. So basic life skills like that.
Don't worry about the child labor. The students receive compensation in the form of popsicles. Hey, they're kindergartners. Well, on Sunday, the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrated Black History Month with a film and open mic event. The museum featured a screening of the movie Many Fires, this time, We the 100 Million, at the Danny and Willa Ellis Family Fine Arts Center. Now, prior to the screening, director Jason R.A. Foster and poet Michael Quest-Moore spoke about the film and answered questions. The open mic gave people the opportunity to perform songs, music, poetry, beats, art, and more.
Today for the screening of our film, Many Fires This Time, We the 100 Million. It's a poetic documentary following the 100 million people and counting who live under economic insecurity in the United States.
Fort Scott Community College Endowment Foundation and the Fort Scott Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored the event. Well, on this date, back in 1936, Senator Barbara Jordan was born in Houston, Texas. Jordan ran for Congress in 1972 as the Democratic nominee for Houston's 18th district. She won and became the first African-American woman from a southern state to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. In 1974, Jordan gave the 15-minute opening statement at the Judiciary Committee's impeachment hearing for Richard Nixon. The speech helped lead to Nixon's resignation over the Watergate scandal. 2 years later, she delivered the keynote address at the 1976 Democratic National Convention. another first for an African-American woman. In 1994, Bill Clinton awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the country's highest civilian honor. Jordan died of leukemia-related pneumonia on January 17, 1996.
I didn't learn about this until it was posthumously for Senator Jordan that President Clinton thought about nominating her for the Supreme Court.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She had retired from politics for health reasons by the time I got to the Lone Star State. But as part of Texas history, she is definitely a very important part of that class. Push through Future Track, Tanya, all the way up into the 70s this afternoon. Abnormally warm for a latter third of February. Then we get into tonight. Here comes round one of thunderstorm activity right along and south of I-44. Some pretty good rain involved with that, leading to flood watches up on the north. And then after a little freezing drizzle right there, watch the temperatures just plummet down for Tuesday. Get outside, enjoy the fresh air. Take the dogs for a walk today, because the rest of the week, not only are the dogs not going to want to go outside, nobody's going to want to go outside, as our temperatures will be in the high 20s pretty much every afternoon from Tuesday to Friday.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The buzz at this year's Chicago Auto Show is all about electric vehicles. We'll give you a show. Plus, we want to know if you think transgender athletes should be allowed to compete in sports. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Kansas.
In Consumer Watch this morning, Wall Street is closed today in honor of President's Day. In the week ahead, investors will continue to monitor the latest geopolitical developments. And on the economic calendar, it's all about the consumer, with new data on consumer sentiment and spending due. Automakers are putting electric cars on the fast track, and now they're taking center stage at the oldest and longest running auto show in North America. Charlie DeMar reports.
The atmosphere is charged at this year's Chicago Auto Show. The buzz created by more than 12 electric vehicles on display.
New technology, electric vehicles, that kind of stuff. I think it's really important to start doing that kind of stuff for the environment.
And if last week's Super Bowl ads were any indication, car makers are going all in on electric.
The first ever all-electric Chevy Silverado.
People are considering and buying more electric cars than they used to.
Sales are gaining traction, with EVs expected to make up 4% of U.S. sales in 2022, although gas-powered vehicles still dominate new car sales. U.S. electric vehicle sales reportedly jumped nearly 85% last year, led by industry giant Tesla.
So wherever you live, charging an electric vehicle will be quick and easy.
This month, the Biden administration announced a $5 billion plan to create a nationwide network of EV charging stations over the next 5 years, with the goal of America leading the electric car revolution.
The benefits are enormous. EVs aren't just cheaper to fuel, they are cheaper to own.
And in Illinois, where the nation's largest car show is underway, the state is expected to get $150 million of those electric dollars. Chevy's new Silverado electric truck proudly boasts its American roots.
It's made in Michigan, so we're going to make this at our Detroit Hamtramck Factory Zero facility.
An industry that has constantly evolved and reinvented itself, once again shifting gears. Charlie DeMar, CBS News, Chicago.
That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning, we're discussing transgender athletes in sports. Leah Thomas, she's a swimmer. She's setting records in her sport, NCAA records. However, there's controversy because, in fact, she is a transgender woman. And while some stand with her, others, including her own teammates, don't want her competing because they view it as unfair. The NCAA announced that Thomas is eligible to compete in the upcoming championships in March. Our question for you, do you think transgender athletes should be allowed to participate in sports? Right now, 85% of you say no, 15% say yes. Appreciate the engagement each and every morning. Connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now, or go directly to the poll, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. If you have your phone handy, you can snap a picture of our QR code right there on your screen. Just take a picture of it, and it will send you to the poll each and every morning. We're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, a trip to the Big Apple to check in to see what's coming up. Here's Nate.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, meet the poet using a vintage typewriter to write poems for strangers on any topic. See how his words are creating emotional connections in just a matter of minutes. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Ryan Clark. Specialist A4 Ryan Clark served in the Army from November 2007 to January of 2009. He served in Iraq with the 10th Mountain Division. During his service, he earned numerous medals, including the Army Commendation Medal and the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. His hometown, Webb City, Missouri. We thank you, today's four-state hero, Specialist Ryan Clark.
Our birthday list begins with Harley Brand, the smiling Harley, turning 4 years old. A very happy birthday to you, kiddo, in Pittsburgh.
Nora Painter celebrating the Big 5. Happy birthday to Nora in Pittsburgh.
We also have the big number 5 for Oakland Johnson. I'm a big Visor fan myself there, kiddo. Oakland, have a great day in Oswego.
All right. Brennan Smith turning 6 years old this year in Chanute. Brennan's birthday was actually on Saturday.
What does that shirt say?
Ready to rock kindergarten.
I like that.
He did. I bet he did.
I like that. Tristan Thompson. Tristan turning the number 8. Speaking of great hats, you wear it well, kiddo. This comes with love from mom, dad, and your sisters. Tristan is in Galena.
Christina Hoy turning 13 years old in Knoll with love from mom, dad, Sadie, and Junior.
Owen Roberts celebrating a 15th birthday. Owen actually had his birthday last week, but we carried it into the weekend. And if you see Owen out at school in Columbus, I want everybody to wish him a happy birthday once again.
All right, Mac Leonard turning sweet 16 this year. Mac's celebrating in Iola, Kansas.
Little Mustang pride right there. Little Gerard Trojan pride in a sweet 16 for Miss Ainsley Norton, who is Tanya Bach.
Outstanding in her field.
Yes, Miss Ainsley, you are. A very happy 16th to you.
I love those sunflowers. Great picture there. And we've got Harmony Cundiff celebrating birthday number 22 this year. Happy birthday, Harmony, in Carl Junction.
Let's run to Pittsburgh, because that's where we find Dylan Smith celebrating his 26th. Happy birthday, Dylan.
All right, Angie Lewis in Parsons turning 49 years old this year. It's a fun photo there for Angie.
In Columbus, a big friend of the show, it's Mr. Corky Zum. Corky celebrating the big 8-0. A very happy birthday, sir.
All right, birthday wishes coming from your wife, Mr. Pete Crawford, turning 81 years old this year in Joplin.
Pete, that is a big cat.
Is the cat like growling at the camera too?
I tell you what, when you go to the Crawford house, let Pete corral the cat first. Because that is a big cat. And I bet Pete spoils it as well. I guarantee you. Hey, it's Sue Trim's 90th birthday. My goodness. Sue, a very happy birthday to you. That's a long time no see right there. Miss Trim, she is in Thayer, and we will find out. We will find out if it meant a trip to Big Ed's.
All right. And Becky Ross celebrating a birthday in Riverton. Happy birthday, Becky. Hope you had a great one.
We've got a 63rd anniversary. That's right, 63 years for Kenneth and Marilyn Frobish. Marvelous picture, and congratulations to the Frobishes as they celebrate in Columbus.
Oh, and KOAM's very own Haley Barnett celebrating a birthday today.
Oh yeah, who that is?
Yeah, see her for all your advertising needs. There you go.
I saw Peyton on there, Haley, forgive me. I didn't see you right above him. Happy birthday, Haley. And Peyton Holloway, one of our KOAM evening producers, does a fine job. Former morning show family member. Mm-hmm. We still claim you.
He went to the night side.
We'll still put you on the birthday list.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Peyton. Sharp dressed dude right there.
Yeah, looking good there. And finally, last but not least, we'll give him a page of his own. Ross King in Columbus. Happy birthday to you.
A screen all to yourself right there, Ross. Happy birthday. Happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this February the 21st. Or perhaps, just like who are we catching up with? We caught up with Brennan and we caught up with Owen because we're going to carry it on through President's Day, it being a holiday. That's where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. And speaking of, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up to the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Look at this beautiful shot right here. We'll get to, we can come back and do that. Look at this beautiful shot that we have right here outside of Television City. You can't paint that any better than the blue sky and the light cloud cover and the gorgeous colors. And not only that, it's very, very comfortable when you walk outside to take a look at nature's beauty, because over 7th and Rangeline, we're sitting right now at 53 degrees, and we're going to make it up into the 70s here a little bit later on. Not going to challenge any records, but still, that's hard to beat when we look at our weather trend, and the sunshine lifts us up around 71, 72 degrees. Now remember, look at the right side. We've not only got thunderstorm activity, but a massive cold front. The reason you want to get the fresh air today is because we're going to be stuck in the high 20s for the rest of the week. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A judge sentences a Grove, Oklahoma woman who pled guilty to assaulting a witness in a murder case. Marie Morrow pled guilty to assault with a dangerous weapon in Indian country. She's sentenced to 30 months in prison and 2 years supervised probation. Authorities say Morrow assaulted a witness in the 2019 murder of Jerry Tapp in an attempt to intimidate them. 2 men, a father and son, are charged with Tapp's murder. You can read more about the case on our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. Joplin Police Department searching for an armed robbery suspect. They say the suspect held the cashier at the corner convenience store on Maiden Lane at gunpoint, demanded cash, and left with that cash and merchandise. The employee was not hurt. Anyone who has information about this robbery should contact the Joplin Police. And a Joplin College student accidentally opens himself up to identity theft after he opens an email. The student received a seemingly legitimate employment ad. The email looked like it came from his college. He replied and applied and received a check later with a letter telling him to deposit it, spend the money on gift cards, and then send photos of the backs of the gift cards back to the people who sent the check. Stephanie Garland with the Better Business Bureau says it was then the student realized it was a scam. Well, secondhand shopping used to mean going to your local thrift store, but nowadays you can do that online. So you're surfing along and you find a one-of-a-kind vintage item that's in great shape, selling for a reasonable price. You think it's the deal of a lifetime, right? Garland says not so fast. The BBB urges you to be very cautious when shopping for these vintage and second-hand items due to an increasing number of scam reports. And these include people ordering their vintage item online, either getting a knockoff or in some cases, nothing at all. That's a check of today's top headlines, news you need to know before you head out the door.
So this afternoon, we'll throw up some 70s, partly sunny skies, strong south wind. And then as we work from Monday night into Tuesday, here we begin to roll. Some heavy rain along and south of I-44. So thunderstorm activity to start with. And then as we work through the early Tuesday morning hours, little freezing raindrops in from the northwest. Not widespread, but at the same point, see all that rain down there? Well, that's why we've got flood watches in effect as well, all the way until Tuesday noon hour, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 inches the farther south and east that you push. And the cold front right on top of it, as our temperatures will only be in the 20s, high 20s, not only for tomorrow afternoon, but we're going to carry that through the rest of the week.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making a cherry pineapple dump cake, yummy, in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Mornings coming up next as National Security Advisor James Sullivan discusses the standoff over Ukraine and whether a Russian invasion can be prevented.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we've got Kelsey Lawyer from the Pittsburgh Parks and Rec Department stopping by to let us know about a 0.5K run. It's for underachievers.
They've got pizza, donuts, the entire thing. It's really something else. Plus, a new school in the works for Dover Elementary. Give you a behind-the-scenes look at the building process and how it's already made a difference for students. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good. wraps it up for this Monday. Enjoy some fresh air. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance is brought to you by